Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown. Let's get right to the point here. Chargers 34, Broncos 13. We know this already. A lot to talk about in today's recap. First things first, though. This was sort of a playoff game for Denver. Now, granted, two things. One, they were pretty much eliminated from the playoffs. They didn't go into this thinking we control our destiny or even close to it or just need a little bit of help. But for them to come out and just put up an absolute stinker. I mean, a hot pile of dog shit. And I get it. They're missing Jerry Jeudy, Bradley Chubb, Tim Patrick, and a couple other key players to the COVID list. And I understand that. But it's not like the Chargers are coming out there with their starting 22 and haven't had any injuries all year long. But regardless, the Broncos just lived up to the worst version of themselves that we've seen one too many times this year. Funny enough, the losing team in this rivalry this season both scored 13 points. I thought that was a little fun fact for you guys. But going back to this, okay? This team has yet to really move past itself in terms of they run into issues and then they can't get out of their own way. This team, once again, just collapses so quickly. And then find yourself in such a big hole that it's too little too late to come out of it. And they didn't even get much garbage time in the fourth quarter. But once again, this is a Broncos team that offensively, I'd rather watch paint dry. I'd really rather watch paint dry than this offense try to get into any sort of rhythm. It is kind of like watching, you ever go to those silent discos and it's really uncomfortable for anyone that doesn't have a headset on? That's what watching Broncos offense is like. It's very uncomfortable, really. I don't enjoy it most of the time. But I want to ask this question to you guys. What's your one-word reaction to the loss? Let me know what it is. If you want to write more than one word, by all means, the floor is yours. Get in the comment section. Let me know what yours is. Mine? My one word's pathetic. That's what this was. Because like I said, was this a playoff game? Yes and no. You had to win to stay alive, so in that regard it is. But did you have a real shot of making the playoffs if you won anyway? Not really, but still. You go to LA, there's more orange in the crowd than Chargers blue. And you just get rolled over. You let them go on you, as we like to say at Chat Sports. Let's talk about Fangio, though. Let's get to the main attraction of this show, which is Vic Fangio, and what I think is going to be his final game next week in Denver as the Broncos head coach, for a couple reasons. First one being 3 straight years of a losing season. The longest playoff drought for the Broncos since the 70s to 80s. A very long time for Denver to not crack the postseason. Then a couple other things. There's a mole. We have a spy. We have a rat. I don't know who it is, but whoever is advising Fangio to call down and challenge plays, stop it. Mute yourself, unplug it, whatever it is. Because, for example, if you've ever seen The Mole, Anderson Cooper hosted that show back in the early 2000s, really good but really bad, it's kind of like that. Who is working against Fangio and the Broncos in the organization? Because he's 1 for 8. Austin Eckler wasn't even close to down. I don't know what he thought he was going to overturn there. It just made zero sense to me as to what Fangio thought he would accomplish by challenging that play. But Fangio made 2 big decisions this past offseason. One, he brought on Pat Shurmur. That was his guy. He brought him on. And then he goes out and trades for Bridgewater. Now, Bridgewater didn't play today, so this is not an anti-Teddy show. But Pat Shurmur is an awful offensive coordinator. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I bet he's good at the barbecue. Maybe he I don't know, is a good Christmas present giver. I don't know. But he's not a good offensive coordinator. This year, he's an awful offensive coordinator. But let's ask this question. We've asked it before. We'll make this the pinned comment on today's show. Should the Broncos fire Fangio? I've kind of gone in between a little bit, only because I was persuaded to the point of, imagine if you brought Fangio on if you kept Fangio, got a better offensive coordinator and a better quarterback, I could be entertained. No, I'm out. But let me know what you're thinking in the comments section below. You look at the numbers for these two sides here in Week 17, and Justin Herbert lived up to all the expectations and accolades he's had so far, hooked up with Mike Williams for a huge touchdown, and it's just very poetic that I was looking through pictures of this game for the thumbnail, and I came across one that's Mike Williams diving into the end zone, and who's behind him? Kyle Fuller. Like, we've started we're ending where we started, which was I thought the Kyle Fuller signing was great, and it's been an absolute flop. And Bryce Callahan, hopefully he would have been better if he was out on that play, but he also missed today. The offense for Denver, there's no progression, okay? It's the same offensive issues from day one, which is lack of a red zone, not even rhythm, but even one step, okay? This team had didn't have much of an issue with moving the ball up and down the field. Now, the running game never got going for Denver. Javonte Williams, he sucked today. I didn't think he was good. I think Javonte Williams is very good at breaking tackles, which also tells you two things. He's really good at that, but he also runs into a lot of traffic. He's not the best at reading the holes. He's a rookie, so I'm not going to pound on him too hard for that, but that's something he's got to improve at. And the only other player that played good on offense, or the only player that really played good on offense, in my opinion, was Noah Fant. We'll look at his numbers later on. But altogether, Fangio, if he goes out of Denver, it'll be because of Pat Shurmur. His choice, his guy, and it didn't work out. Okay, Shurmur, he cannot address a run game well enough to make the defense think they're passing. It's very predictable. I'm looking at the chair I sit in to watch Broncos games, and that chair's looking at me right now like, yeah, I could have told you to run. And it's a fucking chair. So that's how we're doing right now. Drew Lock, meanwhile, what'd you expect from him? Really? He's missing Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick. Courtland Sutton had one good play, but besides that, it's been the story of the second half of the season of you gave Courtland Sutton the bag and he's disappeared, and you could put some blame on Bridgewater, on Locke, on Shurmur, but at a certain point, you got to go, Courtland Sutton, can you be more than just a one or two play kind of guy every single game? Noah Fant, meanwhile, I love seeing him score a touchdown because he had that big reception earlier and then was adding on to it, and this is a guy that I want to see succeed. I want Noah Fant to be the next big tight end in Denver, and it was not looking that way, trending that way. Hopefully it turns around going into next season, but Fant, my player of the game. Right? I don't know what other direction you can go. No one on defense. Maybe Surtain. I think Surtain and Keenan Allen. Allen's, got much more in the age column. But Keenan Allen and Surtain, those two were dueling all game. And that Mike Williams touchdown wasn't on Surtain. So I like what I saw to him. Probably offensive and defensive player of the game right there for those two guys. But if you're ready for 2022, because I don't know how you can't be at this point. Meaning if you are just looking ahead, we are Chiefs game, yeah, I'd like to beat the Chiefs. You always want to beat your rival, knock them down to Pegasus, put them into the playoffs on a bad note. But if you're ready for draft coverage, free agency, trade rumors, all that good stuff to get you excited for next season, then this is the channel you want to be at. Hit that big red button, subscribe. We'll be putting content out all year long, okay? So make sure you're subscribed. That way, if you're ready for mock drafts, if you're ready for draft targets, free agency targets, rumors, draft rumors, all that good stuff that the offseason brings us, this is your home for it. On to the defensive side for Denver. It was actually interesting. That's what I want to say. The Denver Broncos went into this game. I think the number was 25. They had like less than 25 points. They would be on track to have the number one scoring defense in the NFL. And it was pretty poetic that they could not accomplish that because you can't have anything nice right now for the Broncos. It had not a lot to talk about. One takeaway. I didn't even have a takeaway, actually. But I get my numbers mixed up. Anywho, defensively for Denver, a lot of backup guys out there. So not a ton of players that really got things going because you had a lot of backups, and it sort of caught up to them. Meaning the Broncos have had some great play from some of their second and third stringers this year, and that's a huge clap it out for Vic Fangio because he got those guys to that point. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you just couldn't get those guys to keep going against a Chargers team that really needed that win a lot more than Denver did. The hungrier team won today, no doubt about it. We've got an awesome quarter zip still going on at Fanatics. All right, go to chatsports.com/BroncosQZip. Use that link. It's $60 right there. Last time I told you about this deal is half off, so shame on you for waiting, but it's still out there, still at a good price, and it's still very cold outside. So, be warm in style. I'll have that link in the comments and the description of this video as well. Former Broncos Breakdown host, producer Sam, did a phenomenal job with his channel. He's on to bigger and better things here at Chat Sports. He had this to say. He messaged me, and he said, "You kick it at the 1, Fangio? Yeah. Bye-bye. Adios. Sayonara. Au revoir. because you're down by more than two scores in the fourth quarter, and you send McManus, who, by the way, shout out to McManus, 61-yard field goal, but you send him out there for a 23-yarder. What is that going to accomplish, honestly? You kick the field goal. You're no real closer. You're 3 points closer, but you're still down by bunches, and you don't have that offensive momentum. You don't have a feeling of, we could go on a run here. We could get one good quarter from Drew Lock. And I understand that you got shut down at the goal line, take your points, but in the fourth quarter, when you know how the game is going, and you know your offense has struggled to score points, and you've gone all this way to settle for 3, get out of here. Get out of here. I want to ask this to you guys, though. What's the most frustrating part about this team? Whether it's special teams or what I'll say in a moment, you could go a variety of answers. But I want to know what you have to say in the comment section below. What's the most frustrating part? For me, it's week 17, and there's no identity on this offense. Here's my test, by the way. If a foreign exchange student who knew nothing about football came and lived with me and watched a Broncos game and started to learn about football and asked, so what are the Broncos good at on offense? I don't know what to tell them. Running the football, I guess, but it's not even that consistent. It isn't like this is a team you can rely on to go out there and churn yards out game after game. So when you're in week 17 in your offense, now I understand your backup quarterback, but how different would it have been with Bridgewater? Even with Bridgewater, this team, well into the season, couldn't point to one thing and said, that's what we're really good at offense. They didn't have that. They don't have that go-to guy. Judy and Sutton took days off. Patrick was, a rising and falling star at times. Just no identity on offense whatsoever. You look at how they rank in the NFL, and here are the rankings right here. Total yards per game, they rank 19th in the NFL. Passing yards per game, 212, that gets them 20th. Rushing, 13th. Points per game, 22nd. Not in the top half for anything. And I'm not saying this is a bottom of the barrel team. This isn't the Lions with 2 wins or the Jags or the Jets. They're better than those. They beat those teams. But still, you got to understand that in year 3 of your head coach's tenure, for you to be in the bottom half of pretty much every offensive statistical category, you're not moving forward. So maybe you can gamble on bringing in a different OC and improving a quarterback with a trade with Wilson or Rodgers. But if that's not going to happen and you go into next season with a rookie quarterback or someone not named Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, you probably just wasted another year and you burnt up another year of good players' contracts that isn't going to playoff football. And that's the true crime. We're going to catch you later here on the Broncos Breakdown. See you later, Broncos country.